So today I'm opening with the shot of our young queen's tree, which is one of the few fruit left in the garden to harvest, and it will happen in a few weeks when they turn bright yellow and the temperatures drop. But now I'll be taking a short stroll down here in the small forest that we have below our garden. Usually I try to put as much usable usable and actionable information in my videos, but today I thought that I'll just have a short stroll and a random rambling brain dump just to keep you all updated on things that have happened here since the last time I published a video, and that was a few weeks ago. First, I wanted to direct your attention to the many walnut seedlings we have here. I'll do a quick count while I walk around, but they are easily over 50 in a very small patch of the microforest. And what's interesting about them is that they are all planted by birds, usually blue jays and magpies, but they don't plant the walnuts in such piles of dead branches and fallen debris. They seem to prefer clear ground with just leaf litter, and this forest, it was mostly fallen down, dead and rotting trees and branches like here, and we have really made an effort in the last few years to clean that up, make a few piles for the wildlife and as a shelter, and also as a biomass harvesting device, because this is a slope and all the leaf litter eventually gets pushed down slope, but also to allow the birds to plant more walnut seedlings. And you can see here one, that's one of the many yard cats, Leo. Hey Leo. He can smell that I don't have any food on me. So this is a hawthorn, but we have another walnut here, another one here, another one, there are two over here, and if I walk around you can see there are plenty more here and here. This one, some more here. Some has sprouted late, like this one, so it's very small and with still green leaves, and others start to show signs of yellowing. This is one of the brush piles that we made. Hedgehogs overwinter here and even sometimes sleep here during the active season. More walnuts, and here. All this space around was covered in dead branches, so the raking really helped. We have an oak here, one of the very few which survived the snail nibbling. Another one, you can see the nibbled leaves, and a walnut over there. So yeah, there are many walnuts here, and one more, and I hope that with time those will be the plants, the trees which will be the actual succession of this microforest, because most of the trees here are either short-lived or pioneer species. Most of the trees are wild plum and elm trees with an occasional hawthorn. This is one of the thickest hawthorn trees I've seen, and I've left this stem here to graft it with the medlar. But you can see the tree grows really tall up there, and it usually suffers because from the lack of light. But we are gradually cleaning the canopy here, and those are all wild plums, and those one are elm trees which are dead or dying because of the Dutch elm disease. You can see the bare crown up there. That one died this summer, and I'll be taking it down. The other one, which was a sprout from the same root, died a few years ago, and I cut it. And those two will probably have the same fate in a few years. But this is about the largest size elms we get after that they just die and resprout. We have some invasive wild dogwood, and we have black locust on the edges, not really seen here. But yeah, there's not much diversity. There is willow and poplar, but that's about it. And the walnut trees have the potential to easily live 200 or 300 years. I want to also plant some ash here, even if they're threatened by the ash beetle, which kills them. They're still a lovely tree to have around. More walnuts here, and even a couple of oaks. This one. And here I'm going below our neighbor's property now, but so the dogs will be calling. But you can see how many of those walnuts are here. They were planted all this last autumn and winter. This place was impassable last winter, and you can see that already there are like 20 or more walnuts sprouting here. This is a very large pine tree which has a separate story. I'll be telling about it in another blog. It's the only really tall coniferous tree around here. So I'm going down now to what is currently and most of the year a dry creek bed. It's a very small seasonal creek, and with the droughts in the recent years we haven't seen it really flow for more than a couple of days, up to a week. This is a spot where the kids like to sit and play some games. We have started gradually cleaning this way up, but you can see the mess up there, so we have plenty of work more to do. I'll be going a bit downstream from our place. This is a small waterfall here, and you can see that this is the bedrock which underlies our whole region. It's pink or red, or some place call it purple sandstone. And those great slabs, we can harvest those for garden pots and borders. And this is one of the projects for winter, and I'll probably be making a separate video about that. Those branches are all carried by the water when there is sufficient rain to fill the creek. A very big old willow, all hollowed out, still living. And there's an animal burrow here. At first I thought that maybe the fox did it, but it's too close to the dogs, so I'm not sure. So following this dry creek bed, you will probably be able to see some garbage, which is all floating down in the storms, in the heavy rains which fill the creek with water. And we gradually have been picking this up, but it's impossible to do like a single day of picking and be done, because it's an ongoing process. You can see here a bit older walnut tree. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe years old, or maybe 5. It's still small, but you can see that it's under dense canopy, so it doesn't get much rain. But all along the creek bed you get more walnuts. They're like a dozen just here. And then a hazel, which so far hasn't produced any nuts, but I've been watching him for the last couple of years. So the reason why I'm walking down the dry creek is a few hundred meters downstream. There are a few of those walnuts which are planted by the birds maybe 40, 50 years back. You can see another massive old tree here. One of those branches broke last winter in a huge storm, and it was hanging over here. We had to climb and cut it because sometimes the kids come down here to play, and I didn't want it to just fall on someone's head. But I am afraid that the tree is almost dead now. Those are all the dead branches, and probably will just disintegrate in a few years. I'll see if we can make something useful out of it, but it's huge and very, very beautiful willow. It's interesting that it hasn't resprouted, so I think that maybe there could be some root problems. This is the dead branch which we fell. You can see how big this is, and the actual tree easily a meter in diameter. There are some other willows around it, very tall. Those are the tallest trees around. This one is also beautiful. It has like a burrow up there in the stem. It's another willow. And this one is dead. So the reason I'm walking here today is because I'm going to visit those large walnut trees, European walnuts, which were planted probably by birds again, because nobody in the village knows their history. And the oldest people say that the trees were already here when they moved around. Another massive willow. Actually, that could be a poplar. Yeah, probably. But the best thing about those trees is that they produce walnuts which no one harvests, because few people come down here, and most people have walnut trees in their properties because it was considered a sign of a healthy home to have a walnut tree growing in your yard. Also, they were great for shade and the yield, of course. So now we're coming towards one of the trees which is younger. You can see the smooth gray bark. This walnut here is also producing, but It's still young, and even though it's tall, it's not really well developed. It doesn't have the usual massive crown, because the first year it grew from the understory, so it basically grew mostly upwards, no side branches, up to maybe 6 meters. And the other tree which we usually come to harvest is this one. This is older. It has a much more well-developed crown, and we have already harvested maybe 4 buckets. Those are square 10-liter buckets of nuts. You can see here the size of the nut. It's a very well-developed nutshell, very nice size. They usually come clean. It has a relatively thin shell and a nice kernel inside it. And it's interesting that those walnut trees here, they're like the seed stock for the trees we get growing. So I'm pretty excited, because if even some of the trees resemble the size and the quality of those walnuts, that would be amazing. In 15 or 20 years we will have probably easily tons of walnuts just in like a 200-meter diameter walk, and that would be great. There are several trees here which we can harvest from, and I'll now walk toward one of the others, which is very interesting as well, because compared to that one, it has a smaller nutshell, but the kernel inside is very tasty, and I'm not sure of the reason, but it keeps better. Next year, this time, the nut still tastes very fresh, very nice. So it's also a good find. This is the walnut. So I found a couple of walnuts from that tree. You can see they're visibly smaller, but they don't have as much air inside the shell. So the kernel is fitting very tightly inside, while the larger ones, they have more air inside. So of course the larger are good, but those are not worse at all. In fact, I would rather prefer the smaller ones for storage, and what we usually do is we crack and use the large ones first and keep those for long-term storage. I have a few from 3 years, and I'll be checking shortly to see if they're still good eating. And here is another young walnut, which at a very young age split. It was probably nibbled or trampled, and it grew a side stem. I might remove that sometime in the future. It's still a young tree. This year it produced first few nuts. It's very close to the mother tree. That one here is the original one, and this is the young walnut. It has the same type of nuts like those smaller ones, and all around us there are more seedlings growing. So all that area around, it was full with very high grass until last year, and then a local from the village started leading his small herd of cows to graze here. So you can see that the grass is now very low, and of course the walnuts started appearing all around, easily a few dozen here of different ages, like this one. This one is a 1, 2, 3-year-old. Some mushrooms growing too here. so it's a nice indication of living soil. It's one of the late autumn species, edible. This one too, you can see how crooked the stem is. It was probably trampled or it grew under the grass. But now that they're in the open, they'll just start growing very rapidly. This last year, this walnut grew as much as the previous 1, 2, 3 or 4 years combined. So in a few years time, it will easily be over 2 meters tall. So now I'll be going out in the open field, which had been harvested from wheat in early summer, and going back towards our place. The sun is setting now, and I'll be walking towards our place and talk to you a bit about what happened in the last few weeks and why I haven't published any new blogs. So what happened was, at first we had a big delivery of about 20 tons of topsoil, very nice quality, great looking topsoil from a place which was orchard, but it was abandoned maybe 30 or 40 years ago, and now it's been developed, so it's great to save the topsoil to use it in our garden. But that led to some complications because we were not prepared to handle with the delivery. It was dumped in front of the house on the street, so it blocked the village road access. It was a funny afternoon, that one. Had to quickly shovel lots and lots of soil, which was also wet because it was raining a few days ago before that delivery. And then after I arranged the top loader to bring the soil inside, the way our front yard is structured, the front loader can't access easily around the house, so we just dumped everything in front of the house inside the fence line. But now we had to just shovel and wheelbarrow hundreds of loads of soil around, and we were both with the wife very tired for days at a time. And in the meantime, there was some very heavy rain forecasted with very strong winds, and I had to kick in high gear my tiling efforts. I'm still learning how to tile floors, but I had 2 pieces outside which needed to be tiled because after 2 years of no tiles, the cement under base is now deteriorating. So I spent a few days doing that, maybe a week. I'll try to include some photos of that as well. And after that, I started preparing some more beds in the garden for winter, which is not something glamorous, and I already shared a video about how we proceed. We just cut the vegetation, spread winter rye, mulch with some straw, and that's it. So there has not been much activity to shoot, and with some projects at work which needed finishing urgently, there has been some stress and not much time to just be outside and wander and share with you what's going on. And I thought today that maybe I can take you on this short walk to pick some walnuts. So while I was walking around, I found a few parasol mushrooms, and I had to stop filming to identify and be sure. So I'll be picking those now. They are also benefiting from the cows passing through here. This trampled grass part here is the cow path actually. and just a couple, but a nice find anyway. So as I was saying, after the tiling effort and the continuous prepping of the beds for winter, we've had the forecasted rainstorm, which was epic and very, very needed rain. So after that, in a few days, we had to go mushroom hunting, mushroom picking. Uh, so we gathered quite some mushrooms and then we had to process those. Sadly, my phone was not functioning properly and I couldn't do a video about the process, and I really wanted to. After that, we had a few days of guests. People came to visit during the day and with some sleepovers. Another one were growing walnut seedling, and another one. And this is the Woko black viburnum. I'm going back to the garden now, and then inside. We're back at the little waterfall. So with all those distractions, I really haven't had any time to do a proper video. Not that this one counts as a proper video, but still I wanted to put something out and share and let you know where we're standing. The puppies are hungry now. As they know, they're being fed at sunset and the sun has set, and I think that the neighbor still hasn't brought their feed. So this is it for today. I'll be going inside now. In a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks, walking up the orchard, we'll be harvesting the queens, and then in December the medlars. This one has fewer but great looking fruit on it. And here between those two trees is the mulched, if you can say so, space for where two currant bushes will sit. This one has already been dug, and a couple of loads of grass from the lawnmower were dumped here to feed the worms and induce better soil activity, so that there will be two more currant bushes. Those will be probably white currants and those are red. Continuing the line up the orchard, I have a video about that. I'll try to link to it if I don't forget. And I just wanted to finish with a shot of the medlar tree. I know it's getting dark and the light is not as good as it could have been, but anyway, those are the medlars. They're developing very nicely this year. Lots and lots of fruit set. You can see the obvious size difference between those two varieties which are grafted on the same branch. This is the classic medlar with seeds, and this is the seedless variety. But if you measure the actual edible pulp inside after bleaching, this one is almost all edible, like 90% of the weight is edible, and here you throw maybe half the volume because it has those large seeds inside. But still, they're great fruit. One of the very few, if not the only fruit which you can harvest this late in the year, and I'll be hoping to be propagating them on more trees in the future. So that was all from me for today. I'll see you in the next one.